Good morning, Berlin, but we have to say goodbye and drive to Potsdam. And from there, we're going to Wittenberg, where Martin Luther nailed the 95 Theses on the door from Wittenberg to Leipzig for the night.
The feast of St. Peter Claver, who was a Jesuit and was born in Spain. We ask all of this through the intercession of our Lord, and we lay claim to the intercession of the Blessed Mother as we say together.
And so we say goodbye to Berlin as we head south towards Potsdam to visit the great castle of Frederick the Great, and then we're heading to Leipzig through Wittenberg. This is the miller's windmill. It was here before the king built. And the king actually sued him because it made so much noise, but he won in court and he kept his mill. This is the palace of King Frederick the Great and his portrait. And in the culture wars, he was no friend of ours as Catholics. He was a friend of Voltaire and did a lot that we would have opposed and set the stage for bad things to come.
But rooms for his guests. He was married, but only on paper. You know that royal marriages were arranged, marriages of convenience. And his father said to him, "You marry this lady." And the father was a heavy-handed man who didn't tolerate any talking back. A soldier king, a collected man like you, old man.
King Frederick the Great always wanted to go to Italy. His father wouldn't let him go, and it was hard because it took a month to go there and back. And so what he did is he built some Roman ruins there so that he could enjoy the ruins of Rome right from his own place here in Germany. Everyone enjoyed the full tour of King Frederick the Great's palace with all the Rococo artwork full of gold. Get to places early and be the first one. You look at the people here in the buses now. Can you imagine trying to go through that house now with all of these groups? So I'm just glad we got here first. Yeah. It's like I say, one of my favorite verses in the Bible comes from the book of Hesitations. It's the first shall be first. Whoa. And I know that sounds unchristian, but you know, when you bring a group of people and they put trust in you, you don't want to waste all their time. You're trying to do things logistically well.
Is that an edition of the Lutheran Bible? Is that what this is?
That's in the Lutheran Bible.
Commit adultery and murder 1,000 times a day and it won't matter, things like that. And I want to insist that yes, he said those things. And yes, I wouldn't say them, but there is a context, and it's this. Luther believed so strongly in this idea that our justification comes by faith alone, Christ's righteousness given to us by faith alone, that he believed that the commandments of God in the Bible are given for really one purpose. They're given to drive us to despair. The town of his birth, then I could tell the story in chronological fashion, but we're not doing that. And so this is going to be more like one of those movies you see that begins in the middle and then flashes forward, then flashes back, and we're going to go back and forth depending on the location that we're traveling to. But my hope is that by the end of the week that you'll have a pretty full picture, at least more full than one of the people on this bus who I asked a couple of minutes ago. I won't identify her. I asked, well, how much do you know about Luther now? And she said, well, I think he was the first Lutheran, wasn't he? And I said...
It's correct, by the way.
And I said, well, I've got it made then, because I know a little bit more than that, at least. Okay, I want to begin with something. What I want to do, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to begin here in the middle of Luther's life, not at the beginning, with his transference to to Wittenberg. Luther was an Augustinian monk in Erfurt. We're going to visit in a day or two. In 1511, he was transferred to Wittenberg. He had been a monk for about 6 years at the time.
It's really amazing. We're here in Wittenberg, Germany. Right there is a statue of Martin Luther. He's the hero here. And never dreamed I'd be here. At one time, Luther was my hero. And now I see him as a great problem. We arrived at the Luther Museum, which is the Augustinian monastery. By the way, this is Catherine, his wife, who was a nun. And this was the monastery that was given to Martin Luther after the Protestant Reformation. He lived here with his family and 6 children and many others. This is Ken Hensley standing in front of some of the original documents from those times, and myself as well. Martin Luther giving one of his arguments and talks, and me in front of one of the printing presses. Here's a portrait of Martin Luther. There's far too much to see in this museum, but I'm just giving a few tastes of what it was like. Here's the bunch of Protestants, the Wall of Shame, we called it. And here's Martin Luther and his wife, and the famous table where he gave all of his table talks. We had Mass in the only Catholic church in Wittenberg, and there were no Catholics here for 300 years until they built this recently. And we went there to the Immaculate Conception Church. We're in St. Mary's Church in Wittenberg, Germany. For 300 years there were no Catholics in Wittenberg. And now there are 2,000 members of this parish with 2 priests, and we're really excited to have Mass here in Wittenberg, Germany. This is a church of St. Mary's where Luther was married and where he did most of his preaching. It was also the church here in Wittenberg where the first Protestant services were ever conducted. Here's Luther in the pulpit preaching, and here's that pulpit today.
Last big person of the German Empire. He was a Prussian king.
Oh, let me get that.
I have a sense, a great sense of sadness. The heresy that was begun right here. And 500 years later, they're still celebrating it, and it's spread around the world, causing division and schism. So a great sense of sadness knowing right there is where Martin Luther started the whole thing when he nailed his 95 Theses. Okay, Steve Ray here. Knowing that I was coming to Wittenberg, where Martin Luther nailed 95 Theses on the door here in argument against the Catholic Church, I decided to put up on my blog and website that we would like to give 95 reasons why we should stay Catholic. And so here we are. I not only got 95, I got over 500 people that sent me reasons why we should stay or be Catholic, and I told them I'd bring them here and share them with Martin Luther today. So here they are, and there's a bunch more on the website which I'll print out later and put on my blog. But this is for Martin Luther 500 years later, and I don't know about you, but I'm proud to be Catholic.
Yes.
Come on, Janet. Okay, there we go. Posted 500.
Leute, die hier an den Pfeilern stehen, sind alles Reformatoren zur Zeit Martin Luthers hier in Wittenberg und haben mit Martin Luther das Alte Testament übersetzt ins Deutsche.
You can see also a part of the decoration reminding us of Martin Luther and the vignettes on the wall. There are not only Melanchthon and Luther, but the other.
This is the tomb of Martin Luther, buried there.